this tutorial, we're going to discuss the Group By clause. Group By is a statement that you can use in conjunction with aggregate functions to group the result set, the result of the query, by one or more column. In this access report, we are group the information by the division ID. So we're showing some detailed data and of individual instructor who work under certain division, and we'll also apply the aggregate function. Let's look at division 2. The aggregate function against all the instructor that belong to, say, division 02. So the average salary for all the employee, there's 3 of them, is $60,000. And we can use other aggregate function like sum, minima, maxima. And this is how the group by can be used. In this case, we group by the div, the division ID, against the instructors in the instructor table, and then apply aggregate function within each group with different div value. Okay, let's look at in Access how we can actually generate a report like that. We're going to go to Create and use Report Wizard. In this case, we're going to choose Instructor. We can choose the column that we would like to use. In this case, and we want division because that's the group by column. We go next. The report wizard in Access figured out that we probably want to group the detailed information by div. By the division ID, so that's the correct one. That's good enough. So we're going to just take the default and go to next. In this case, we can sort the individual record within each group by, for instance, salary first, and then by last name. The summary option is actually where we're going to define the aggregate function to apply to each grouping. So we can say we want sum, average, minima, maxima. Let's choose all of them. You can generate reports showing the summary and aggregate data without the detail, but we're going to show the detail and summary together. So we're pretty much done in defining the report. This is where we choose the look and feel of the report. We can just take the default and say finish. So if you look at this generated report, we find out that's division 01, and we have 1 person, and that's the total salary, average, minima, and maxima salary. Division 2 has 3 employees, so and we're calculating the total salary, the average salary, minima, and maxima salary. Okay. So this is the use of the group by in conjunction with aggregate function in Access report function. Let's go back and look at how we can actually use group by in relation to the aggregate function. First, let's review some basic concept of group by. In the select clause, if you have some aggregate function and a column, and it is okay, but you have to actually have a group by clause referring to the same column. This is the column that we have in the select clause. and some aggregate function from a table. In this case, you have to have this group by title to go with the select title and some aggregate function. Otherwise, it won't work. The result here means, for instance, the total salary for all the teacher is $108,000, and for all the dean is $72,000, etc. The following is a general syntax for the group by clause in conjunction with the select statement. So this group by column name selected here has to be used in the group by clause to make it work. Okay. So let's see how we can do this in Access. We'll go to, in this case, let's close this and just go back to create query design. We're going to choose instructor. Let's choose, for instance, title, salary. Let's do this. Let's just choose salary, and then we use aggregate function against salary. We can say average salary, and if you want, you can certainly apply another aggregate function like total salary. The result is the average salary of all the employee and the total salary of all the instructors or employee together. If you want to have a breakdown in terms of salary, average or total salary for each title, you grab the title over here, and here we say group by title, and we're showing actually the title. This is what we have. So the average salary for all the teachers is $54,000. Average salary for all the dean is $72,000, etc. Okay. And if you look at the SQL statement, we have some aggregate function against salary, average, summation, and we include the title in the select clause. But here in the group by, we have to choose the title in the group by clause to make it work. If we don't have the group by here, but we did choose the group by in the select clause, then when you run it, you're going to get an error message say you try to execute query does not include a specified expression title as part of the aggregate function, which means that the system expects you to have an aggregate function against the title column, and certainly that's not what we intended to do. A solution to this, to get rid of this error message, is that since we use the simple column without an aggregate function against it, while we do have some other aggregate function in the select clause, and we have to use the group by clause referring to this column that we use to make it work. Okay. So make sure you understand the concept of group by. It basically gives us a breakdown of some aggregated functions value based on a column or columns. This is the breakdown. We call it group by. In the old COBOL programming language reporting, sometimes we call this control break. So whenever this column's value change, then we apply the aggregate function against all the detail within that grouping. And this is the example of another group by. So we can actually group the aggregate function like a minimum, maximum salary against the division that the instructors works for. And we can also sort the result by say the division. And so in order to do that, we're going to just say create. We're going to choose instructor again, and we're going to choose, in this case, salary. And to use group by total, which total, by the way, once again indicate group by and other aggregate function. In this case, we're going to use minima. We're going to choose salary again and apply maxima. And we want to group by division. So here we choose division, but we can order by the division, say in ascending order. So if you want, you probably want to move division up front if you run it. So now the division 10, minimum salary is 22,000, maxima is 22,000. I guess there's only one person there. Division 20, minimum salary is 48,000 and maximum salary is 72,000. So that's the result of using some aggregate function, but group the result by the division, which means the aggregate function applied to salary only work for each individual divisions, like division 10, division 20. Okay. So on this slide, we're going to add another twist to the group by. In this SQL select statement, we calculate the average salary based on each individual title. So we're grouping the average salary by the title. However, to protect the so-called privacy of the individual salary, we add a condition. In this case, it's not where clause, it is actually a having clause. So in this case, having count, the asterisk just means we don't care which column, just any column within this title group should have at least should have more than one individual who carry this title. So if we have only one dean, we're not going to show the average salary for the dean. Since we have two teachers, we're showing the average salary of teachers, of the employee who has the teacher title. But if you really think about it, if you have two teachers, this average salary will be displayed. This may not be enough in protect the privacy of the individual, because if I know my salary as a teacher and I know there's only another teachers, another person is a teacher, then if I know the average salary, then I can derive the other instructors, the other teacher's salary. So you probably want the n over here instead of 1 should be at least 2 to protect the privacy. In some cases, people may even increase the n beyond larger than 2. So let's look at another example here. In this case, we are calculating the average monthly salary. The salary here is annual salary, and we're calculating average salary. If we divide it by 52, sorry, it's the weekly salary. If we divide it by 52, so that's the weekly salary. If we only want 2 decimal place and rounding off, and we use this round function, so we can calculate the average actually weekly salary this way for each division. However, we only want to show, we group by the division, but we only want to show the average weekly salary when the division has more than one instructor or employee, and we also want to sort it by the division. Okay. Let's see how we're going to do it. Let me copy this. We're going to create a new query. We're going to choose instructor. We're going to calculate salary. Let's say we want the average salary based on the division. So it's grouped by division. Let's run this and see what this means to us. In this case, we're getting the average salary, annual salary for each division. And if, for instance, if you're you want the divisions, let's see how this is done. We can do the following. If you say count, let's say we're counting how many individual is in the instructor table by the grouping, and this will give us, in this case I have only one individual in this division 10 and 3 instructor in division 20. If you want to exclude the division which has only one individual, you say greater than 1. And since you're only using it as a criteria, you can deselect that. Okay. And if you want to show the weekly average salary, then you need to type in the formula, which is say round the average salary, annual salary, divided by 52 and take only the 2 decimal place. Okay. So that is actually an expression. It's not a simple aggregate function against a column anymore. So this is where you need to be very careful. You need to choose expression. If you drop this down, you're going to choose expression. Okay. And here you may want to call it average weekly as a column heading. So let's run this. So in this case, that's the annual average salary for division 02. We don't have division 01 anymore because that has only one employee, so we don't want to show the aggregated data. And this is the average weekly salary. Let's switch back. If you look at it here, I choose average as an aggregate function. Here I am using, if you watch, I am using the AVG aggregate function against salary, but I have other function that I'm using and apply to it, like rounding divided by 52. So I actually have to define this as an expression. Okay, not a where criteria, okay, but an expression, not group by, but expression, and this is very important. So this is what we have, and so you. By the way, you cannot use aggregate function in the where clause.